This is Ron Higgins with NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and it's the Tuesday, April 7th edition of The First Cup of Coffee right here. The first thoughts that I have every morning, getting out of bed, thinking about what happened in the world of sports last night or what I'm thinking about this morning. Of course, I went to bed thinking about Duke's 68-63 win over Wisconsin in the NCAA title game last night in Indianapolis. And it was one of those events where I get asked all the time. People go, you cover sports. Why don't you bet on sports? You have all this inside information. And last night's game was a prime example of why I have never bet on a sporting event ever. Because you can't predict what's going to happen. You couldn't predict it that a Duke freshman, Grayson Allen, he had 18 points in 5 previous NCAA tourney games, and basically was the most unheralded freshman in that class. Comes in and gets 16 points against Wisconsin, including an 8-0 run when Duke was down by 9, a little over midway in the second half. That's something that you can't predict. You couldn't predict Sam Decker going 0 for 6 for threes for Wisconsin. And here's somebody who was 15 of 30 in the NCAA tournament from three-point range, their best three-point shooter, and just came up a big blank. You couldn't have predicted, maybe you could have, because Mike Krzyzewski at halftime in her interview coming off the floor noted how that his team was trying to draw fouls and couldn't get any foul calls against Wisconsin. Wisconsin had 2 fouls at halftime. And the second half, Wisconsin had 13 fouls. And Duke was in the bonus with like 11 minutes left in the game. Ended up shooting 20 free throws, 16 of 20 for Duke. Wisconsin was 6 of 10. It seemed like almost every call down the stretch went Duke's way. Afterward, Wisconsin's Bill Ryan on a TV interview talked about how his team hadn't played a game like that all year, where so many hands were used against him. Some people view that as complaining about the officials. Yeah, well, it was a subtle way of doing it, but it was a complaint. And I thought it was a valid complaint. But that's something you have to adjust to all the time. You have to adjust to the way the game's being called. That's just the way it is. That's just the way way it plays out. And of course, the one sure thing that you never bet against is Mike Krzyzewski. This is his 5th NCAA title for Duke. I think he's cemented his place as one of the greatest coaches in history, behind John Wooden of UCLA. So that's something that, you never bet against him. But again, last night I'm sitting there thinking, God, this is why, you think you might have it figured out. You can break it down all you want, and then crazy things happen in a game like that you can never predict. Duke's freshmen scoring like 60 of their points. That's just, this Duke's freshman class, not Kentucky, not Kentucky's one done's, but Duke's got it done. And so, the basketball season is over for college. Duke takes it. And it's somewhat a surprise because this wasn't Duke's best team, but, Coach K is a hell of a coach, and he brought from behind last night. This is Ron Higgins with The First Cup of Coffee. See you tomorrow.